Hi, and welcome to the Black Starters Podcast, featuring stories of Black business owners, leaders, and artists walking through their journey from the start through obstacles and onward to success. Powered by BlackStarters.com. And now, here's your host, Lauren Marie.
Hey guys, this is Lauren, and today I'm feeling kind of weird, but what's interesting is that I have here with me Shara Jones, who is the founder of Natural Passion, and she talks quite a bit about just treating yourself well and about thinking about business in a spiritual way. And so I'm really excited to get into this interview, and really thinking that the things that she shares will be hopefully the motivator that I need, because times have been really difficult for me and just my thinking. I have a mentor who says self-talk is the most important talk, and so I've really been thinking about my self-talk and how I can speak more encouraging words to myself, celebrate the little things, and really keep it on a positive note. So let's just go ahead and get into the interview. I'm really excited to talk to you and to learn more about business in a spiritual sense. So tell me just a little bit about yourself.
My name is Shara Jones. I am 37, about to be 38 next week. I live in Orlando, Florida, and I am the proprietress of Natural Passion, natural and organic personal care products for men, women, and children. And I've been doing it now for 6 years. It's actually one of my passions. I actually have a day job as well. So I'm doing my day job full time, and I'm doing my business, well, more or less part-time now, but before I was going hard. So it was really like another full-time job. But I really enjoy what I do. I love educating people, talking to people, letting them know that there are other ways to go about living life. And one way to do that is in the products that we use.
Okay. So tell me about the Natural Passion startup. So how did you get involved with this initially, and have you always been in the area of like beauty and skincare, or no?
Well, I've always been into natural things.
Okay.
Growing up, my sister and I used to have a lot of sinus infections. And so we would take every new drug on the market. And we realized that after a couple of weeks, it would take it away, but we would still have symptoms, and it would come right back. So it was kind of then where it wasn't a conscious thing, but it was more or less, let's start using natural ways to heal ourselves. I remember my senior year in high school, we went to Detroit and I bought some shea butter. I didn't know what it was. Nobody knew what it was. I just said, let me try out this shea butter. So I would put it on my skin. So this is 97? So I would put it on my hair. I would put it on my skin. I really didn't know anything about it. So I started researching it and found out different places where I could buy it. So I started using it and making body butters. My sister hit me to another website where I can get different kinds of butter. So it wasn't just shea butter. It was mango butter, sal butter, different kinds of butter. So I would just play with it and add a little fragrance to it. And then I just started using it because I felt like the lotions were drying out my skin. Mm-hmm. And they weren't providing the moisture that I needed. You know, in the summertime when it's hot, that ash just comes right on out. You need a little extra,
Mm-hmm.
You want your feet to look nice. So I felt as if the products that were on the shelves, they contained a lot of chemicals, and they weren't doing what they were supposed to do. So I started making my own, and people would say, hey, let me buy what you got. I'm like, this is mine, though. So I would end up selling people what I had made for myself. So it really, me having a business kind of snowballed. So I had been doing that for years, like I said, making things for myself, people wanting, so it was kind of word of mouth. People would buy things from me. In 2011, my father passed, and he gave me, I inherited his little beat-up car. And my girlfriend said, hey, I'm going to do this event. Why don't you come sell something? I said, okay, I'm going to let people know that, hey, I do body butters. Anytime you want them, you could just come to me. So that was my first event in 2011 in April. But I had some left over from that event, so I found another event. So I started selling my leftovers there. Mm-hmm. And then I had some more leftovers, so I started making more products. Then I got another event. Prior to moving to Orlando, I lived in Chicago. And Chicago has a ton of festivals, a ton of events. So it just kind of snowballed into one event, to two events, to three events. In my first year in 2011, I did probably over 25 events, and that's from April to December. So it just snowballed into a business, and I started off with white labels, and now I have glossy printed labels. So it really was a journey, and it wasn't anything I had consciously decided, oh, I'm just going to go in business. I just went with the flow. And now I'm in business.
Okay. So you said that right now you're working this as a part-time, but you also have a full-time. But
Correct.
there was a time where you said you ramped this up and went all in.
Yes.
What was happening at that point?
Tiredness, but but just a passion as well. Because I'm physically making the products, and I'm doing everything. So from concept to sourcing the products to doing R&D to actually making and packaging, marketing, selling the product, I was going hard for many, many years. I do a couple vending events every now and again, but I don't do them as much as I used to, and it just wore me out. So it's really more or less now a change of business structure and business plan and how I want to market my product, because I physically just cannot have a day job and do my job, well, my passion really, full time. And I know I'll get to the point where I'm able to do it full time, but right now I'm not, and I'm okay with that. I really kind of need this downtime. It gives me a chance to do R&D. It gives me a chance to just take a step back and see what I'm doing, get more of a focus. But before, I went so hard and I was just tired. I would take the time that I had off from my day job. I was literally working my other job. So if I wasn't making products or testing products, I was literally selling products. Even though I was in Chicago, I did the majority of my vending in Chicago. I did a little bit in Cleveland, Ohio, which is where I'm originally from. But I just did so much, I just had to take a step back because I was literally killing myself doing the thing that I loved. And I knew it had to be another way for me to be able to be my passion without me physically destroying myself.
Yeah. And I like that you say that, because I think many times what we see is this really fairy tale story about what entrepreneurship looks like or what business ownership looks like. And maybe there's certainly more aspects to it. And so when you were going through this period of time, what kinds of, besides tiredness, what other kinds of things were you thinking or feeling at the time?
The more I did it, the more excited I got. And the more I tried to devise ways in my mind of how I can get out of working my day job and doing my passion. An old love of mine, I told him I had a business, and he said he didn't believe me at first. So when he actually came and he saw I had the business, he wanted to invest. He said, for every $1 I give you 7. That is loan shark type of rates. But I honestly, for one split second, considered it. But then I said, no, that's no business. That's not good business, because I was just ready to be an entrepreneur. So again, I had to take a step back because I found myself being desperate and willing to make desperate decisions just to be an entrepreneur when I knew that wasn't good for my business. Now, of course, I didn't end up doing it, but it had me, I had to look at how I thought about the situation. So instead of, again, being desperate or feeling like I should be in a place that I shouldn't be, I need to take a step back and look at it, because all things will happen in time. I've met a lot of entrepreneurs doing the same thing I do, and a lot of them have fallen off. It's not easy. Your heart does have to be in it. And it can't be all about the money. It has to be about what you enjoy in it. And I've had times where I felt so money driven that I lost my excitement for it. So then I had to take a step back, because I don't do this for the money. I do it because I enjoy doing it. And I don't want to get sidetracked just because I want to get out of corporate America and doing my own thing. And again, make a desperate decision or do something without meditating, without thinking about it, and let it be. Everything happens in its own time. And it's the same way with my business. That business is a child. It has to grow. It can't go from birth to walking. And I felt like I needed to honor my business and allow it to crawl before it can walk, before it can run, instead of trying to take it somewhere that it wasn't necessarily ready to go because I wanted it there. Let me honor this business where it is and just be with it and just let it grow slowly and surely, and it'll be okay.
Yeah.
And now, here's a quick word from our supporters.
Hi, this is Vivian Kay, the founder and CEO of Kinky Curly Yaki. I have a special discount for all the Black Starter listeners. Use code BLACKSTARTERS for 10% off your order over $100 on all of our textured hair extensions, wigs, and clip-ins. Use code BLACKSTARTERS. Visit Kinky Curly Yaki today.
Now, let's get back to the show.
So tell me about your time at these festivals. So I'm always excited to hear people when they say they sold at farmers markets or were vendors at different events, because those are the kinds of experiences and opportunities that show you your sales skills, right?
Yes.
Because at those where there's so many other people to entertain the customers, it's make or break, right? So if you're not talking, somebody else will. If you're not selling, somebody else will. So what were the kinds of things that you learned in your time there?
I learned a lot.
Yeah.
It was easy for me because I was talking about something that I loved.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good to connect with the community. That's the one thing I did love, because you're able to talk to the community. You're able to connect. A lot of times when I did festivals, I would remember people. And so I always make it a point, if I see you, to remember your face and to remember what you ordered. So when I see you again, I'll say, hey, how you doing? You want some more of that papaya and mango? And they'll be like, oh, you remember me? Of course. You are the customer. You are important. Let me listen. Let me pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
Because without you, natural passion doesn't have a home.
So one of the things that I noticed in your writing, you said that you are defining business and success from a spiritual perspective.
Yes.
What does that mean? Can you elaborate on that?
I went to business school. I have an MBA, which honestly really is just a piece of paper. If you're smart, you're smart. You don't really need a piece of paper to tell you that. But, in business, they tell you have to do things a certain way for a level of success. Whereas I'm finding that doesn't work out for me. If it works out for other people, that's cool. But for me, I want to live life a different way, because I measure success as me being happy. And you can't put a dollar amount on peace and happiness and just love and joy of what you're doing. Mm-hmm. So instead of looking at things from a strictly business perspective, let me look at it from a spiritual perspective, not a religious, but a spiritual. I'm very much into prayer, meditation, being still, and then from that point, handling my business.
Okay, yeah, this is actually a little bit off script, I'll say, but I'd like to get into this a little more. So it's super common for us to identify financial freedom as the goal, because we say, well, if we have money, then we can buy all the things, and the things is what we think will make us happy.
Right.
So can you talk a little bit about happiness and what it means to be happy, or what it means to pursue happiness? Because the current narrative, I would say, is buy a bunch of stuff, get a big house and a nice car, and then you'll be happy, or get that girl or that guy and then you'll be happy. So
right.
What's your take on it?
Happiness comes from within. Nothing nothing outside of you can give you happiness. Mm-hmm. Not your children, not a significant other, not material possessions. It's the happiness of knowing who you are. Knowing, I love the Wiz, so I have to go back to that. It's about knowing your mind and your heart, who you are, your being, being okay with your emotions, being okay with your thoughts, changing that. Your energy is your being that makes you happy. So the happiness that comes out of you should flow into the product that you have. But if you see happiness as anything outside of you, I won't say that you've already lost, but you're going to get the experience of what that means. So if happiness is, and a lot of people can testify that money does not make you happy. You can look at a lot of people who are wealthy, they're miserable. People think, oh, I'm lonely, let me get a significant other. They get that significant other, they're still lonely. Because loneliness and happiness, those are all things that come within us, and only we are responsible for making that in our lives. And then that goes out. I know you asked one of my favorite quotes. One of my favorite quotes is from Neil Donald Walsh from Conversations with God. And it says, if you do not go within, you will go without. Meaning that if you're not about being still, be about prayer, meditation, however you want to show it, and finding that happiness inside, nothing that you desire will show up outside of you that you want. So you can work however many hours, you can amass however much wealth, but people will tell you it's not going to make you happy. They're just things. Not a thing is not going to replace being in the life of a child, watching them grow. If you missed that, you've missed it. You can come back as an adult and try to recoup that relationship, but you have missed that growing up time. What is more important? Seeing someone that you love grow up and nurture them and love them, or getting these things to provide for them. Children know nothing about money and providing. They know about time. Children measure love in time. They can be afforded every luxury in the world, but if you are not present, they don't give a blank about you because you weren't there. So we have to, again, redefine what success means. Yes, you are a success in the boardroom, but your children want nothing to do with you. Or your spouse wants nothing to do with you. You don't have that connection with the people that you love. It's more important that we cultivate these relationships with one another than just with money, or either find a balance that works.
Yeah, I one of the men that I used to work for, he at one time, and I think actually for several years, but specifically in the time that I worked for him, he was doing maybe like 18 and 19-hour days at the office, and it would blow my mind because I'm thinking like he has a small child and a wife at home, and like they probably never see him. And I'm sure he can just kind of rationalize in his mind that he's doing these things to provide for them, but I'm sure they would prefer to have the time. And so yeah, I really agree in the sense that you have to find some sense of balance. But it's difficult. It's definitely difficult. Let's go ahead and stop right there. I think we got really, really deep, really serious. So be sure to check her out at naturalpassion.us. She's got some really fantastic skincare products there, and you can order through the site. And that's actually it for this episode. So be sure to let me know, just because I'm curious, let me know what you think about work-life balance. I think that's an interesting topic and one that's getting more and more important as people continue to work more for what's basically stagnant wages. So yeah, let's talk. You can leave a comment either on Instagram or on the Facebook page, and I'd love to chat with some of y'all. All right, I will catch you in the next episode, and be sure to leave a 5-star rating and review. All right, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Black Starters Podcast. For more exclusive content, don't forget to log on to blackstarters.com. There you can find all our social media sites. And if you like this episode, don't forget to leave a 5-star review, comment, and share.